Hello and a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Vikas Nangia with Focus Live Season 4. Ladies and gentlemen, far away from motherland, what connects us with our roots and culture, amongst various things, is cinema that creates nostalgia, cinema that connects us through the language, costumes, cinema that takes us to our childhood. We relive those happy moments. And the unique storytelling attracts all of us. Today on the program, I have with me the makers of one such film that is creating tremendous buzz back home in India. It has received several awards and accolades in international film festivals. People of all age groups, the family goers, cine goers are really enjoying this film. It's a Gujarati film called as Mrugtrushna.
હાથેવાળી જઈ ઠાકે
તો માં મે હો અદ્દલ રોકેટ લેવાનો રોકેટ માં બેહીને નદીની પેલ્લે પાર જવાના
ખબરદાર જો આજ પછી નદીની પેલ્લે પાર જવાનું નામ હો લીધું છે તો
I have with me the director of the film, Dr. Darshan Ashwin Trivedi, and I also have two co-producers of the film, Nishit Mehta and Burzin Unwala. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us on Focus Live, Darshan, Burzin, and Nishit. First of all, congratulations to all three of you. What a tremendous success you've had on the release of the film back home in India. The movie got released for the viewers on May 20th, and for about a year or maybe a little over a year, the film had been circulating in different film festivals. As I said in the beginning, that it received several accolades and good reviews from the cine buffs and critics. So let me start the conversation, Darshan, with you. Does that really meet your expectation?
Yes. In fact, it was a little unfortunate.
Or should I say that it supersedes your expectation?
No, I would not say that. In fact, we started our festival journey during the COVID time. And unfortunately, we could not crack some of the festivals that we wanted to because you know how it worked for the COVID time. Some countries were expecting only films from their own country. However, I'm very happy as a director that the film has done a festival journey and then came to the cinema halls. So yeah, I'm happy.
Let me hear, I know you are the writer, co-producer as well of the film, but let me hear from the other two producers as well. Nishid, I'll start with you on your reaction. Does that really meet your expectation or supersedes that?
I would say it meets, not supersedes, because we always want more. We are human beings.
Right.
So I don't think, but yeah, it is what we are happy about is that it has seen some good festivals. It has got some good accolades. And more importantly, it has had a good release because audiences are liking it and they are connecting with it, which is very, very important for us. So right. I think, yes, it meets our expectation for sure.
Right. Burzin?
Yeah, well, the most wonderful part is the reviews. Usually it is very easy for us to have mixed reviews, but I can quite confidently say I have not yet met a person who has seen the film, and I've been going through nearly all the shows. All of them connect with the film. They all love the film. They're just transported to another world, basically, and that is what cinema is supposed to do. So I think our job is done.
નદીની પેલે પારની દુનિયા કેવી છે?
તમને લોકોને નદીને પેલે પારની દુનિયામાં કેમ રસ પડ્યો?
અમારે ત્યાં જવું છે નદીને પેલે પાર. તેની દુનિયા જેવી છે લા કે બધા જોતા રહી જાવ. પતંગિયાઓનો દેશ છે પતંગિયાઓનો.
તઈ કોઈને મારે જ નહીં. ગુસ્સે નહીં થાય. मैं તમને તઈ લઈ જવા. નદીને પેલે પાર.
બાપુ.
Well, I understand that the film got released in select theaters in India, and slowly, gradually, you would plan to bring the film overseas as well, for Gujarati diaspora in North America and UK and various other parts of the world. We're eagerly looking forward for that. But for the viewers who do not speak the language, although cinema these days, it's all global language, language is not the barrier at all. Darshan, I would like you to set the tone of the conversation because many of my questions are going to come from what the movie is all about. Although the trailer says it all, but just give us a snapshot of what the movie is all about.
Okay, so primarily the film is about dreams. It's about the power of dreams. It's about hope, right? It's about these four kids who live on the banks of a river and they want to cross the river. So these are, I mean, you find these kind of stories in practically every language, every culture, right? River is something that that is a motif in itself for any audience to connect with. So I would say it's a very simple narrative, and talking about language, cinema has its own language, so we don't need to worry about too much of catching up with the language. And most importantly, we've done subtitling. In fact, our first draft of the film, the rough cut of the film, went with a subtitle because we wanted to, show to our peers and kind of take their views. And most of them don't speak Gujarati language, and everybody follows. In fact, we've got reactions coming in from non-Gujarati people, and they are following the film absolutely and enjoying it. So that's about it, Vikas.
देखिए, मुझे तो ये लगता है कि दर्शन के तो कहानी उम्मीद बांधे, जो कहानी सकारात्मक सोच रखे, वो दर्शकों को अपनी ओर आकर्षित करती है। और वो कहानी, जैसा कि शुरुआत में मैंने कहा कि हम प्रवासी भारतीयों के लिए या प्रवासी गुजरातियों की अगर बात करूं तो खास ये कि जो बचपन याद दिला दे, वो बड़ी बात लगती है। और आपने कहा ना कि ये कहानी 4 बच्चों की है जो नदी किनारे हैं। मुझे लगता है वो नदी के अंदर, जो आपने ट्रेलर में जैसे मेंशन किया है ना, नर्मदा, वो मेंशन करना मत भूलो, बिकॉज़ नर्मदा is the unique thing which connects the dots with a lot of people who live in this part of the world. So वहां पे एक कनेक्शन बनेगा जरूर कि कई लोगों ने नर्मदा के किनारे बैठ के कई सपने बुने हैं, तो नर्मदा का जिक्र यहाँ आना बहुत बहुत लाजमी है।
बहुत जरूरी है। We must talk about Narmada. In fact, talking about Narmada, this film has been shot at a place which no film camera has gone to. So right. I can assure you that you've not seen Narmada as beautiful as you are going to see it in this film.
Right. अब देखिए, हिंदी में हम मृगतृष्णा को मृगतृष्णा बोलते हैं और अंग्रेजी में कई लोग उसको डियर्स थर्स्ट बोल देते हैं, मिराज फॉर्मेशन बोल देते हैं, अलग अलग तरीके से। और वही चीजें जो दूर से तो एक उम्मीद बांध देती हैं, लेकिन वो उम्मीद कितनी सफल होगी वो निर्भर करता है। और उस चीज को आपने फिल्म में एक बड़े यूनिक पर्सपेक्टिव से बताने का प्रयास किया है। What was the starting point for you all to collaborate? किसने कहाँ से शुरुआत करी? दर्शन, you met निशित and बुर्जन, या ये दोनों आपसे मिले? किस तरह से ये ताना बाना बना? Let me start with Nishit this time.
Mrugtrushna, from what I know, has been with us for a very, very long time. In fact, it was conceived back in 2003.
Arey wow, and, my God, you're talking about almost what, 19 years ago, man. So, that's a lot.
Yeah, and so me and Darshan anyways go a long back. And I think the first reading of the film we had at my place. And at that time, we had decided that whenever we make this film, we would definitely work on this together.
Right.
And we have lived up to that commitment for sure. So for us, it has been a very, very different journey. So when this opportunity came up, it was a no-brainer. We had to do it. And then I think over to Burjin as to how it moved forward.
How he became part of the team. Burjin, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have been, I've traveled a lot. I was in Chennai for 7 years, in Mumbai for 5 years. And then when I got back to Gujarat, I felt that I really needed to do a Gujarati film. I'd done a lot of Tamil films. I'd done a Kannada film. I'd done films in Sri Lanka. But, love for the language, Gujarati. And when I had this, the very first hearing of what this concept was about, I was completely bowled over by it.
Right.
I just knew that this film had to be made at any cost. So that's how we got together and we collaborated. And I think it was initially because of my expertise with visual effects that we wanted to see what best could be done, because that was a very important part of the film.
Right.
And so I think that's what got us all involved together.
Yeah. So as the conversation unfolds, I'm certainly going to ask your area of expertise as a special effects, the visual effects that you're known for. I'm going to ask you how you created that for the movie, but let me reach out to Darshan, and rather I would like all three of you to pitch in. You know, एक फिल्म जो 2003 में आप लोगों ने कंसीव करी, और ये सवाल मैं इसलिए रख रहा हूँ क्योंकि कई बार मैं बहुत से लिरिसिस्ट, डायरेक्टर्स, एक्टर्स, प्रोड्यूसर्स से बातचीत होती है कि कोई कहानी, कोई स्टोरी उनके दिल के करीब होती है जिसका वो सही समय का इंतजार कर रहे होते हैं। उसके बाद कई थिएटर, कई ड्रामास, कई फिल्में, कई कुछ हो जाती है चीजें, लेकिन कुछ कहानियां होती हैं जो रुक जाती हैं, थम जाती हैं, और फिर वो समय आने पर ही बनती हैं। यू नो, you might have done work in between on various other projects, but let me ask you, what really was holding you to put this film together, and why it took so long, Darshan?
So I think when I wrote Mrugtrushna, the first draft in 2003, as the Nishit very rightly said, in 2002 I wrote the draft, and 3 we did the reading. That was not the right time for independent Gujarati cinema. यहाँ गुजरात में ऐसी कहानियां नहीं बनती थी, और ऐसी कहानियों के ऊपर पिक्चर नहीं बनती थी जो इतनी सतह वाली है, इतनी रिलेटेबल है. That was a different time, different era. And probably I was waiting for the right time. And in that time, we supported individually and together, Nishit and I, we supported a lot of filmmakers in different ways, right? So probably, I also had to see the journey of Gujarati film industry also to go to the next level, because then these kind of narratives would have got the acceptance from investors. I'm very happy that मेरे 2 co-producers and 2 producers, Devdutt Kapadia and Mridal Kapadia, they've all gotten together and supported something which was very courageous, to make when we made the film. Because it's not that simple a narrative that you would make in a time when you're only making films which are humor stories, or which are like formula films. This is thode different, in terms of its approach. So yeah, so that's how it took a lot of time, but I'm very happy I made it now. Otherwise I would not have met Burzin and Nishit, had I made long back. So yeah, that's about it.
So der aaye durust hai. You mentioned that it was not the right time for the Gujarati cinema, and we've seen in the last decade and a half or so, the Gujarati cinema or overall regional cinema has evolved so much, and it has carved a niche for itself. It has carved an audience for itself. खास अगर मैं बात करूं तो बंगाली, मराठी और गुजराती, ये 3 भाषाओं में, अब सदर्न इंडियन इंडस्ट्री को तो छोड़ दे, वहां की तो ह्यूज फैन फॉलोइंग शुरू से रही है, वो चाहे मलयाली फिल्म्स हो, कन्नड़ हो, तेलुगु हो, तमिल हो, उनकी तो एक अलग ही इंडस्ट्री है। लेकिन ये जो कुछ भाषाओं में ड्रामा बहुत अच्छा रहता था, ड्रामा ऑडियंस को ले आता था थिएटर्स में, लेकिन फिल्में नहीं लेके खींच पाती थी, आकर्षित कर पाती थी दर्शकों को। वो होने लगा है, और फिर उस बीच में ये होने लगा कि शुरुआत में मैं देख रहा था कि बहुत सी फिल्में अगर गुजराती में या मराठी में भी बन रही थी, वो संजीदा विषयों पर नहीं बन रही थी, वो बन रही थी कॉमेडी को लेकर के, which were more humorous, hilarious, so that they could get the people in. And still those films had a very theatrical theatrics, जो ड्रामा, जो in person ड्रामा होता है, उस तरह की ही फिल्में बन रही थी. Now the narratives have changed, the drama has changed, and which is fantastic. New form of storytelling is there. As a filmmaker, Darshan, before I again get the reaction from, and Nishit, I'd like you to answer that question also, and Burzin, you also. This new the new wave, the new trends of telling stories in a creative form, of course, it's very welcoming. But where do you position yourself? Darshan, I also wanted to pitch in from a professor as well, from a teacher as well. I know you teach filmmaking. From that perspective, I also want you to pitch in.
So, times have changed. And if you ask me where I stand, I think I have found my niche, or I have found my space to tell my stories, which was not possible, 15 years back. But as you very rightly said, it's possible now. The business has changed. the monetization has changed. So I also teach business and media and entertainment business, and I can speak from that perspective also. So the avenues to, so finally filmmaking is about business also, right? So and there is money going in when money coming out. So obviously one needs to also think about the business potential of a project. So we are in a time right now where niche content, interesting content, evolved content, regional content has also reached a level where it can recover faster in a better way. There are more supporters. There are more number of cinema halls, which like multiplex cinema halls in the country, which now accept this kind of films, and that's how the industry is evolving. In fact, there are more avenues to make money for a filmmaker now. Right from the music rights to OTT rights to satellite television rights to even overseas rights. Now we have a huge diaspora market for Indian cinema, and I would say all this put together has helped the Indian independent cinema go to the next level, and that's where filmmakers like us would tell the stories that we have been wanting to tell.
Right.
Yeah.
Burjan, before I reach out to Nishit, I want you to answer this question of mine, given your experience and knowledge of working in other regional language films also. जैसे कि आपने बताया कि आप अलग-अलग लैंग्वेजेस की फिल्मों पर पहले काम कर चुके थे और फिर गुजराती लव फॉर द लैंग्वेज गॉट यू अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड्स द प्रोजेक्ट. तो उन लैंग्वेजेस के एक्सपीरियंस को अगर ध्यान में रखते हुए इस फिल्म को पर्सपेक्टिव में रखते हैं और जो मूवी मेकिंग का जो डायनामिक्स चेंज हुआ है, I want you to give me the reaction from that perspective.
There is no doubt that the whole approach towards cinema is very different based on the different regions. For example, in Tamil Nadu, the moment there is a film that is made, you do know that you have a very, very large audience that is just waiting to see the film.
Right.
I hope what I mentioned here is not very far away from the truth, but I have a feeling that in Gujarat, audiences are more accepting to a larger variety of languages. They are not very particular about consuming content only in their own language. So whether it is a Hindi film or Tamil film or anything that interests them in terms of entertainment value, they will go for it.
Right.
Which is a good thing. And for Gujarati cinema, I think there is a place for improvement over here, because the kind of audiences that we get, they are evolving, no doubt, but we need more audiences.
And that's happening, Burjan. If you look at it, that's happening in Hindi cinema as well. More in Hindi cinema, I say. A lot of southern films are actually remade over here. उनका remake हो रहा है. और दूसरी बात तो अब तो रीमेक छोड़ो, अब तो ये हो रहा है कि कोई भी फिल्म, अगर सर्दर्न इंडियन एक्टर्स कितने ज्यादा पॉपुलर हो गए हैं हिंदी सिनेमा में, बाहुबली से वो सिलसिला में देख रहा हूँ थोड़ा सा ट्रेंड्स चेंज हुए हैं, and most of the southern Indian films now, along with Tamil, Telugu, they're made in Hindi as well. They're all multilingual, you know. तो वो एक ट्रेंड्स ऐसा होता जा रहा है. निशित, but let me just come back to Mrugtrushna, what I was asking Darshan and Burjan, you know. How do you see this whole process, the gamut of business right now with Gujarati cinema?
See, I mean, both of them, they have said the thing absolutely correctly, that it is evolving. Now, what happens is that when we talk about other languages, when we talk about other languages and the industry which is there, they already have a wide audience which is existent. So they can take bigger risks as well. So you have bigger investors, you have bigger producers, you have more trained units which are working on the production of this. Whereas Gujarati is still evolving per se. So we are looking at, we are taking small steps. So the good thing about, rather what I see happening in Gujarati industry is that they are not only making comedy-based content. They are taking a risk with stories that they think are a little off the commercial grade, and they are trying to take a chance with that, and hoping that the audiences will react to that. And audiences are reacting, but the growth ratio is a little slower than expected what it was.
Right.
But it is moving. So that way, I think I see a very, very bright future for Gujarati industry that way. But for that, the audiences will also have to start accepting their own language the way other regional languages are being accepted by their own audiences. And so that onus is also there on the audiences as much as it's there for the makers. And so I hope that changes, because that is something which we are struggling with. It's not just making the films.
Right. Some interesting, feedback from all three of you. We're going to take a quick short break over here. On the other side of the break, we'll continue our conversation with Team Mrugtrushna. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching Focus Live Season 4. I'm Vikas Nangia. Ladies and gentlemen, today on the program, we are talking to the makers of award-winning Gujarati film Mrugtrushna. We have with us Dr. Darshan Ashwin Trivedi. He's the writer, director, co-producer of the film, and the other two co-producers are Nishit Mehta and Urzin Unwala. Gentlemen, once again, welcome to the program. आप लोगों ने जब मृगतृष्णा को शूट किया, ये तो समझ आता है कि आपने उसको एक कंसीव गुजराती भाषा में किया होगा, नर्मदा का रिवर बैंक है, तट है, वहां पर आपने उसको शूट किया, और आपकी कहानी गुजरात के इर्द गिर्द थी, तो इसलिए आप गुजराती में बनाने चाहते होंगे उस फिल्म को. लेकिन क्या उस वक्त सोचा था कि यार हम इसको मल्टीलिंगुअल भी बना ले, तो हो सकता है कि इट कुड गेट वाइडर ऑडियंस? Darshan, I'll start with you, and then Nishit, as a co-producer, is nodding his head. I think he has an answer for that.
So yes, I had discussions about doing it in multiple languages. However, I was very firm that this film has to be done in Gujarati language, because there is so in fact it is if you look at the language that way, Mrugtrushna ki language Shuddha Gujarati nahi hai, wo Chota Udaipuri dialect hai of Gujarat. So we kind of realized that the story does not need a language a barrier to it, and our subtitles are enough, and the flavor of language we wanted to retain, and we went ahead with the language that we had.
Obviously, we wanted to make a Gujarati film, and that is what we've made. And the subject is pretty universal, and because the story is about children staying in a small village on the banks of a river. So the kind of geography that India has, you go down south or you go to east, all of these communities are very deeply connected with rivers. And so we also thought that it would be, we would probably consider maybe dubbing the films in other languages so that we can find wider audiences. So that is something that we had in mind for sure, because stories are pretty universal, and there is something that I wanted to say, then I refrained myself because I thought I'll give away the film. But yeah, languages is something that we are considering, and we are hoping that that will also help us reach wider audiences, and that way Gujarati cinema or the way Gujarati content is made can also see other audiences. They can also see what kind of films Gujaratis are making.
Right. Urzin, what I understand from the teaser that I saw is that, when the name Mrugtrushna comes, 4 of these kids, have a feel what's on the other side of the river. और वो उसको एक मृग तृष्णा के नाते देख रहे हैं, समझ रहे हैं कि, और उनकी क्यूरोसिटी है कि नदी के उस पार क्या है. अब उस थॉट को एक स्पेशल इफेक्ट्स और विजुअल इफेक्ट्स से उसको दिखाने का प्रयास आपने किस तरह से किया है? कैन यू टॉक अबाउट दैट पार्ट?
I will need the permission from my director whether it's okay for me to.
So you can go ahead and talk about it. Don't give any spoilers.
So don't give any spoilers, but give some enticers over here.
Yeah,
absolutely. It goes without saying.
Okay, so when we started conversation on what the scope of work would be, we started off with a very small glimpse of what their imagination could be like. But as things developed and as the film evolved and how once we put things together, we realized that to do justice to this film, a lot more was needed in this visual effects sequence. And obviously the challenges, the biggest challenge was the budget. And sometimes, things, the disadvantages work to your advantage. And what we did was create this very, very beautiful and complex, I would not say one scene, it's an entire sequence, where nothing like this has ever been done in Gujarati cinema before.
Mm.
In fact, I might not be wrong to say that very, very few Hindi films or other regional language films have done something this complex. And since we were not able to have a very big team on it, most of this had to be done with a very, very small core team. And that made things a little more difficult also. But I think you could say that since it was a small team, there was more control on what we were able to do.
Right.
So I really am struggling to hold back because there's so much I would want to talk about, but I think that might just give away a little too much.
Yeah.
So I'll refrain from that right now.
I would just add one line. I would just add one line to what Burzin has said. It's a mesmerizing world that is created, and you have to watch it to realize how mesmerizing it is.
निशित, मुझे एक बात बताओ कि स्टोरी अच्छी हो और एक्टर्स थोड़े कॉम्प्रोमाइजिंग हो तो चलता है, या आपको लगता है कि स्टोरी वीक हो लेकिन एक्टर्स अगर स्ट्रांग हो? प्रोड्यूसर का क्या नजरिया रहता है कि अगर स्टोरी थोड़ी बहुत भी कमजोर है, डायरेक्शन में, अब आप दोस्ती की तरफ मत ध्यान दीजिएगा, अगर मान लीजिए कि डायरेक्शन में कहीं थोड़ा कहीं डायरेक्टर कहीं कमजोर पड़ रहा है लेकिन एक्टर्स उसको आगे ले जा सकते हैं, एज अ प्रोड्यूसर क्या नजरिया रहता है आपका?
Well, I think that obviously it has to be a balance of both, because I mean, if you have a story which is weak and if your actors are trying to pull, it is still not going to create that communication which is required. It is still going to be a drag.
देखिए, एक्चुअल में तो इस सवाल में 3 डायमेंशन आ जाती है. अगर हम स्टोरी की बात करें तो स्टोरी एज अ राइटर जिसने स्टोरी को कंसीव किया है, तो अगर स्टोरी स्ट्रांग है, हो सकता है कि डायरेक्टर उसको एग्जीक्यूट बहुत अच्छे तरीके से कर जाए, या हो सकता है कि अच्छी स्टोरी को डायरेक्टर अच्छे से एग्जीक्यूट नहीं कर पा रहा लेकिन एक्टर्स निभा. तो 3 एस्पेक्ट हैं, लाइक अ ट्रायंगुलर. इन तीनों में मैं समझ रहा हूं कि कुछ भी कमजोर पड़ेगा तो वो फिल्म को गिरा सकता है, लेकिन कौन सा एक पहलू ऐसा है जो वीक होगा भी तो बाकी फिल्म को उठा देंगे? 2 अदर पहलू जो हैं.
See, as long as your story is strong and your actors are good, maybe if the director is a little weaker than that, it can still be dragged. I mean, they can still pull through a good film when you have actors which are good and a storyline which is strong. But if the captain of the ship is compromised big time, then that is something that no good story or no good actors can save.
Burzin, what would you say that? What would you say to this question?
This is a little difficult question for me because honestly, if any one of these things, any one of these areas are weak, it shows in the film. There's no hiding that. So you have to have a strong script, you have to have good performances, and you have to have a director who has the vision to pull this through. Any one aspect being weak, it is definitely going to show. And I think now audiences are wise enough, they cannot be fooled. You need to have all 3 powerful. So I would not be able to answer the question about which could be compromised.
Now, let me ask this question to the man who's wearing all 3 hats of a co-producer, director, and writer. I want Darshan, you to answer that question.
I think it's a tricky question. I'll answer it from 2 points of views. One is that cinema is a process which goes through a very different kind of teamwork. So any department is weak, it will show up. right? So even if my my makeup artist or my costume department is weak, it'll show up because finally it's going to show on the screen. Now, classically we've defined all the mediums, all the popular mediums, from their strength. So like they say that theater is the actor's medium, right? They say television is the writer's medium. But unfortunately or fortunately for cinema, it has always been referred to, the classical definition of cinema says that it's a director's medium because, because finally, they say he's the captain or she's the captain of the ship. So it so happens that you are in charge, you are in control, but you are so much dependent on every other department that if one department fails, finally the blame comes on to the director.
Right.
But if it is successful, everybody shares the success, and that's, I think, what would I answer to your question?
Yeah, इसमें एक पहलू और है जो मैं थोड़ा सा आप उसको और ट्रिकी एस्पेक्ट कह सकते हैं या जो वो मैं और ऐड करना चाहता हूं, लेकिन एक छोटा सा ब्रेक ले लेते हैं. I'll give you some time to take a pause and be ready for that question on the other side of the break. Viewers, we'll be right back after these messages. देखिए, ब्रेक से पहले बात हो रही थी कि एक ट्रायंगल की तरह इन तीन पहलुओं में क्या कुछ ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, स्टोरी, डायरेक्शन या एक्टर्स, ठीक है? और आप तीनों ने अपना अपना एक पर्सपेक्टिव रखा, एक बात रखी. अब मैं, क्योंकि आप तीनों को प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं, मैं एक सवाल फिर रख रहा हूं आप तीनों के सामने, और I'd like you to give the reaction from your individual areas of expertise. और वो सवाल ये कि मान लीजिए स्टोरी अब अच्छी होगी, डायरेक्शन बहुत अच्छा हो गया, बात अब स्टार कास्ट की आती है. स्टार कास्ट के ऊपर हो सकता है कि प्रोड्यूसर सोचे कि यार कहानी अच्छी है, डायरेक्टर अच्छा है, मैं इसमें सीजन्ड एक्टर्स को ही लेना चाहता हूं. I don't want to compromise with first time actors. And the director might say कि बॉस इसमें अगर सीजन लिया तो बात शायद ना बने. You are thinking from selling proposition, but I'm thinking that who would fit best into the skin of the character. अब ये दोनों बातें भी अपने आप में कहीं एक द्वंद्व कर सकती हैं डायरेक्टर और प्रोड्यूसर के बीच में. Let me start with Nishid. Nishid, what would be your reaction to that?
I would always say that if you want a good product to come out, you have to have full faith in your director.
Right.
And if your director feels that this is the appropriate cast for the film, you have to go with that. So that is a very simple thing for me. It's not it's not a brainer for me.
Right. So it doesn't matter whether it is a seasoned actor or non-seasoned, you're fine as long as director is calling the shots over there.
Absolutely, because he is the one who's going to be directing them, and he is the one who has the entire vision. He can see the film in his head through and through. And when he has clarity on the entire script, he has the clarity on the story. So he knows that who will fit the character well, who will, and obviously because you have a very stringent audition process that happens.
Right.
And post that, because casting is also a very, very important part. And I'm sure the director, takes full caution, and he is 100% sure about casting a person if he feels that will fit the role. So
before I reach out to you, I also want to get Nishid to answer what prior to the break Darshan also said was that if it is a success, then it's everybody's success, but if it's failure, then it's director who is put on the forefront. What's your take on that?
Well, so what happens is that right now in this equation, the thing is that the team that is sitting here is also creatively involved in the film. So we are not just producers. Like I'm the music director of the film. Mujin is the VFX director of the film.
Yes.
So we are more creatively invested in the film, and the way we see the film is probably is in a very different way.
Right.
So probably for us, the aspect of finance or the aspect of how or what would make more business sense probably doesn't arise much, because all three of us mainly see the film as to how it would creatively or how we would want to tell a story and what is appropriate for that.
Right.
So that's why I think we are a little compromised when it comes to that.
Versant, your take on seasoned or non-seasoned star cast, and of course the second part of the question, what Darshan said earlier.
Okay. So to start off with, I would say every script, based on how clear the director is on the characterization, having a seasoned actor sometimes might work to your disadvantage also, because seasoned actors come with baggage. They have, people perceive them and relate to them with certain characters. When you have a fresh face who might not be very seasoned or experienced, but good at his or her craft, there it's easier for them to blend into the character, mold the character in a particular way, which might be what is actually needed in the script. So, like for example, the 4 children who we have in our film, they have done such an amazing job. Frame by frame, frame to frame, they are able to match the performances of the seasoned artists also. And when we look back, I must have seen the film maybe 100, 200, 500 times. I just cannot think of any other character who would be able to come close to the way these artists have depicted the characters. So when you have a seasoned artist, you might need to modify the script sometimes to match that person's character or personality. So in terms of freedom with how you want to go in with the story, the characters and all, as I said, sometimes having a seasoned actor might work to your disadvantage.
Right.
Coming to the second part about, this thing about if the film does well, then everyone gets the credit, and if it doesn't do well, then it's the director at fault. I would say that this is a very sad thing if that is the case, because everyone needs to take ownership. This filmmaking is not just a one person's job.
Yes.
Yes, the director is the captain of the ship. But like in cricket, just the captain cannot do anything. You need to have the whole team work together. And if it's a failure, it's a collective failure. You cannot blame just one person.
Darshan, now I'm tossing this question to you about seasoned and non-seasoned actors.
So, मैं थोड़ी बहुत ही डिफरेंट वे में मेरी फिल्म्स बनाता हूँ, and now it's a known fact in the people around me. मैं जब भी एक फिल्म को एक स्क्रिप्ट को लॉक करता हूँ, then I just look for the faces. I don't look for the performances yet, and there is a reason behind it. So and this process changes from person to person, from director to director. But the way how I love to do it is I find the faces to the character, their appearance first. That's very important for me. And then I do auditions, right? So, and then I see what is the gap, what is the gap that I have to fulfill. Now, it's what I love about independent cinema is, you also have access to the actors that you're working on, or the team that you're working with. So, then I do like a very rigorous theater workshop for about 1.5 to 2 months. All my films, all the 4 films that I've worked on, I've done, at least 1.5 and up to 3 months of workshops with them. And that's how, I don't care whether they are seasoned, non-seasoned, they are this ready, non-ready. I just, go with my inner, inner say as to what exactly I want from this particular face. And I just go for it, for this particular character. So, yes, it matters to people, who may not have enough time to kind of do pre-production and stuff like that. But if you can work on, I've worked with non-actors also, and have been very successful so far. So I don't think that's a big worry for me in person.
Let me reach out to Nishit and talk a bit about the music, which is another highlight.
नदी ने पहले पार जाऊं ओ बेली नदी ने पहले पार जाऊं।
तो निशित भाई कुछ फिल्म के संगीत के बारे में बताइए कि किस तरह से क्या सोच रखते हुए वो जो एक रस्टिक फील आती है, कुछ उसके बारे में बताइए।
Well, the music of this film, as you rightly said, has a very simple, basic sound, and it has only two songs. And we wanted it to be a part of the narrative itself. So the film starts with the song and it ends with the song. And we wanted it to have a very how would I say, simple sound, because we are basically telling a very simple story. And like what we were discussing about the casting of the characters for this particular film and for this particular soundtrack, we had to have a voice that was casted because appropriately, because that would be the one setting the mood for the entire story to start with. And it would be the voice which actually starts the journey of the film. So we wanted to have a feel that we could generate out of that. And we looked at different voices. But there was one voice which was stuck with me for many years. I had met him a couple of years back. And he is from Bengal. So initially the thing was that would we get a Bengali vocalist to come and sing a Gujarati song, and how would it sound and all of that.
Right.
But the way the composition was, it was a sure shot that he is the one who would fit that role just appropriately. And so we reached out to him. His name is Shaurav Moni, and he has been doing extensive research on songs of the rivers. And he has a good collection, about 5,000 odd songs only on rivers from the Northeast and Bangladesh region. So so who would be better to sing a song of the river than someone like him?
Right.
So we reached out to him. We called upon him, and he agreed to come and sing. And the way that song has come up, audiences are just connecting with it. They are loving it, and they are just loving the simplicity of the song,
right,
which is something which I wanted to convey, and it is getting conveyed.
जो मुझे आप लोगों के साथ बात करते हुए एक प्रशंसनीय, मैं कहूंगा, बात जो कमेंडेबल है, वो ये कि जहां जहां आप अपने करियर के अंदर कुछ चीजें आपने ऑब्जर्व करी, नोटिस किया कि ये अच्छा है, उसको ध्यान में रख लिया। अब जैसे निशित भाई आपने इस बंगाली सिंगर की बात करी, हु हैज सो मच नॉलेज अबाउट द सॉन्ग्स ऑफ रिवर, हु अंडरस्टैंड्स द साउंड ऑफ रिवर सो वेरी वेल, एंड उसको ध्यान में रख लिया। जब मौका बना आप उनके टैलेंट को एक्सप्लोर कर रहे हैं और अपनी फिल्म के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं। कहानी 2003 में कंसीव करी, जैसे जैसे मौका बना, you guys came up with that. Same thing with Burzin, the special effects, that whatever he must have learned over a period of time has poured his heart into it and showcased to the viewers. So that's all fantastic. जैसे जैसे हम बातचीत के आखिरी पहर में पहुंच रहे हैं, एक दो और सवाल करके इस बातचीत को खत्म करूंगा, और वो ये कि Darshan, the film gives great hope, as you said in the first segment, and it also talks about dreaming. There's a dialogue that comes in the promo where this character talks about के सपनों में बहुत शक्ति होती है, something like that. What if I'm getting the right gist of it?
Yes.
और उसे सभी को देखना चाहिए, आप जो चाहते हो वो अचीव कर पाते हो. I think that kind of mindset only comes when you are a positive person in your life. How important was for you to have that kind of narrative in the film that actually uplifts not only the, these four children in the movie who are hopeful about and who are thinking about Mrugtrushna, but it also in various ways uplifts people of all age groups. How important was that for you?
I think it is the need of the time, to talk about positive messaging, to talk about stories, to talk about the whole idea of dreaming, being positive, you know what, we all Indians, people of Indian origin, this is a part of our upbringing. All of us, we've gone through those bedtime stories, and they are not the kind of stories that we kind of read in other parts of the world. Our Panchatantra, kahaniya are full of these positive messages, right?
Right. The folklores are full of messages.
Somewhere, yes, of course. And somewhere I got that from my father. He was a very positive person, and I, whenever I would look at him, and he would. So in fact, I've used some of the incidents that happened to him as a part of stories in the film, right? So there's a major chunk in the film where you talk about stories, and there are characters who are telling stories, and I kind of wanted to bring that alive, because I thought that if I don't tell these stories now, probably it's going to be too late. Nobody's going to touch them, and I'm very happy that people are noticing it. And in fact, I was just talking to Nishit the other day that whatever small things that we have done in the film, people are noticing those things and people are talking about it. So I think my job is done as a filmmaker, to bring these positive messages alive, alive, and kind of connect with my audiences and say that here, you've got a narrative that you could get something from.
સપનામાં બહુ તાકાત હોય બેટા. જો તમે પૂરી નિષ્ઠાથી સપનું જુઓ તો એ એક દિવસ સાચું પડે છે અને પડે જ છે.
આ જાદુઈ સિક્કો છે, મારી બધી ઈચ્છાઓ પૂરી કરે છે. લે રાખ.
And as co-producers, all three of you, how do you feel about the film, getting so much of attention at the International Film Festival? I understand that in Iran, when the movie was as at the same bandwidth of Majid Majidi, your film actually got more attention than his film in the children's category. So that really, must have boosted you all that you're doing something good in the right direction. And of course, in other prestigious film festivals here in United States, in UK, in Russia, I understand it was much appreciated. So talk about that whole process as well, that it kept on boosting your morale while the film was getting good feedback in all these film festivals. Darshan.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was a very, very encouraging. When you've already gathered courage to make a film which is a little different, than the mainstream cinema storytelling. Which is not about just humor. It's about so much more than that. And when you start in it getting appreciated at a platforms which you admire. So, I keep telling all my peers that, Iran is a place where some of the best children's film of the world have come from, right? And not only Majid Majidi, Abbas Kiarostami, and there are so many more, Mohsin Makbalbaf, and so many more, filmmakers. So, us being selected in a festival where even Majid Majidi's film was competing was a big thing for us, and it was a matter of honor for us to kind of being recognized as a film which is a part of the bouquet of films where also great Iranian filmmakers are competing. Obviously, we got a Best Screenplay award, so so that was a good thing for us. And all the other festivals, we were happy that this kind of storytelling is being appreciated, and not only appreciated abroad. Whichever trade person or the senior journalists, film journalists, they've seen the film, they've really appreciated the film and the content and the work and everybody's work. So I would not boast about just one person's contribution. Everybody has said amazing music, great VFX, great cinematography, amazing acting. So I think that really says it all. Yeah.
very aptly, beautifully, you've expressed it. मैं निशित और बुर्जन के पास इस सवाल के साथ जाना चाहता था, but since we are running out of time, I'll reach out straight to the last question. And this question, Burjan, I'd like you to react first, and then Nishit, and then Darshan will have you wrap up this conversation. You see, and this question is in a very simple way, the way you've told a simple story in a beautiful manner. Let's say if I go to a restaurant and I go with a set of my friends to a restaurant and there's a buffet set up over there, and I say, you know what, मुझे यार buffet में दाल अच्छी लगी, किसी को बिरयानी अच्छी लगी, किसी को dessert अच्छा लगा. So, but overall, the feel that we get to a restaurant is कि यार गए तो किसी को कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा लगा, and that was the best thing that we want to go back again to the restaurant and have a sort of a repeat customer to that place. Same thing with the cinema. You see, a lot of us go for seeing the cinema. Some people might like the visual effects. Some people might like the action sequences. Some people might like just the storytelling. Some people might just like music. As we wrap up this conversation, when we talk about Mrugtrushna, what's unique about this film? Burjan, I'll start with you.
Okay, Mrugtrushna is a journey. When you enter the theater, when the film starts, you are taken into a journey along with the children, and you are also headed towards this quest to find what it is on the other side of the river. And if you ask me, I think it's the whole flow, the journey, and the surprise that comes towards the end. I have been speaking to so many people, and all of them have been of the opinion that they, somewhere in the middle, they started guessing as to how the film would end. And the way it actually ended was never expected. So what this film actually has been doing is it has been starting conversations. So at the end of the film, when people walk out, they are still not able to get out of the narrative. They are still inside, they are still talking, they are still discussing, and each one has had a different journey. They are discussing their journeys. So that is something which is not really very common when you talk about cinema. And that, I think, is the most beautiful part of this particular film.
Great. Nishit?
Well, what you rightly said, we've been getting the audience reviews, and all of them, I would say over 98% of them, are saying that they have just loved every aspect of the film. They have loved the actors, they have loved the VFX, they have loved everything. But what they have loved the most is the journey that they've had with the film. Because when they get into the theaters, there is a mindset which is there of there is a way in which probably films are being made right now. So there has become maybe a more of a predictable graph which is there. And once they get into the theater and once the film starts, it slowly transforms them into a very, very different world. And by the time it is over, they have been transported to such a land where I have people coming and telling me that we are still trying to find words to come back to reality and talk about the film. You guys have transported us, and that is something which is very, very strong for the film. And I think the reason that this is happening is because we are human beings at the end of the day. And what has been happening is till now is that, or rather what is happening currently is that we are so much attached to the technology. We are so enslaved by the technology that our power of imagination is getting compromised, and we are not even realizing that. You think of something and you just Google it, and whatever some image comes up onto your screen, whether it's relatable to the content or it is not, but your imagination at that particular time is blocked. So you stop thinking and you stop imagining. And when you stop imagining, you stop dreaming. And when you stop dreaming, you don't realize, or your realization of dreams comes to a halt. And now that is the basic message is what we are trying to convey to people. And somewhere it is creating that thought in their heads. It's basically triggering that subconscious that we need to go back to dreaming. And that is something what is very, very special about this film.
Lovely. Darshan?
You come back after watching the film, you'll come back with a smile of satisfaction, I would say in one line. And that is a contribution of all departments. We've just told a simple story, but it has gone beyond just a storytelling. And every film, has something exceptional that happens, and I call it happy accidents. Mrugtrushna is full of happy accidents, and that's why these happy accidents make it look so beautiful. And every aspect of this film, I can't even count, the aspect. Everything is in sync. So you come back with a smile and a lot of, satisfaction from within that, you connected with your roots or with your younger self. That's what Mrugtrushna is all about.
Well, I want to wish you all the very best. You've all expressed it very, very articulately. And I'm sure that's what the movie is all about, simplicity at its best. So really looking forward for seeing this movie in United States and Canada soon, and sometime soon catching up with you all in person over here as well, when you guys are traveling to this part of the world.
Sure.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much. And I want to wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Darshan, Burzan, and Nishit Mehta. It was a pleasure talking to you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.